John Swinney was tipped off by Scotland's top prosecutor about the exact amount Nicola Sturgeon's estranged husband is accused of embezzling, while the legal chief hid the same details from the public. Lord Advocate Dorothy Bain KC, who is also a minister in Mr Swinney's cabinet, gave the First Minister a 33-day head start on January the 19th by telling him Peter Murrell had allegedly swindled £459,046.49 from the SNP. We ultimately revealed the shock figure last week before Murrell's February the 20th hearing was delayed until after May's Holyrood election. Bombshell emails revealed the top prosecutor told the First Minister the exact amount Nicola Sturgeon's estranged husband is accused of swindling from the SNP, which was immediately shared with Mr Swinney's top SNP government spin doctor. The briefing from Miss Bain, who has insisted she is not involved in the politically sensitive case, came on January the 19th. On the same day, the Crown Office, which she heads, announced no further information was publicly available on proceedings other than the fact that a court date was scheduled for February the 20th. Last Friday, the Murrell case was delayed until after the Holyrood election, after its legal team requested a postponement in what the SNP's opponents claim is a boost to the Nats' election hopes. And to date, Holyrood Scottish Conservative MSP Douglas Ross asked about this during topical questions.
To ask the Scottish Government if anyone who works for the Scottish Government, including ministers, special advisers or civil servants, were involved in discussions concerning the postponement of the trial of Peter Murrell until after the Scottish Parliament election in May.
Minister Graham Day.
Presiding Officer, there have been no discussions. Scheduling of trials is a matter for the independent judiciary and the Scottish Courts and Tribunal Service.
Douglas Ross.
My question was worded very specifically because we have almost 20 special advisers, almost 30 government ministers and over 9,000 civil servants within the Scottish Government. So given Graham Day has just given a categorical reassurance that none of this almost 10,000 individuals had involvement or any discussions at all, can he update Parliament on how he was able to assemble that information over 10,000 individuals in the last couple of days? Because this stinks. It absolutely stinks that an accusation that was first made before the 2021 Scottish Parliament election will now not come to court until after the 2026 Scottish Parliament election. And does the Minister not even realise or simply accept how bad this looks for his party and, as I say, that party that are in government at the moment?
The revelation sparked claims last night it was not appropriate for the Lord Advocate to feed details of the £459,046.49 embezzlement charge to Mr Swinney. Scottish Conservatives leader Russell Findlay said there appears to be no good reason as to why the Lord Advocate should issue John Swinney with a private warning about the alleged scale of the SNP fraud case, while the public are told the bare minimum. This extraordinary revelation suggests something is rotten at the heart of the relationship between John Swinney and Scotland's independent prosecution chief, who remains a member of his cabinet. Yes, Nicola Sturgeon's husband is on trial, but that's got nothing to do with John Swinney. So it's hard to understand why he should get special treatment from the Crown Office. If the Scottish Sun had not revealed key details of the case, then nobody other than the First Minister and his advisers would be aware of the vast scale of the alleged embezzlement. And the paying public would have been kept in the dark until after the crucial Scottish Parliament election on the 7th of May. The controversial briefing by Miss Bain to the First Minister is shown in emails obtained by the Scottish Sun. It was sent at 3:35 on the 19th of January, and the subject line said, "Minute to the First Minister, Operation Branchform," a reference to the codename of the COP probe into the SNP finances. The memo stated it was from the Lord Advocate, and Miss Bain, one of two Scottish Government law officers, told the First Minister Peter Murrell has been indicted today for embezzlement. The case will call for a preliminary hearing at the High Court in Glasgow on the 20th of February 2026. The charge is that Peter Murrell embezzled £459,046.49 from the Scottish National Party. There is a long-standing tradition that law officers are not involved in the decision-making in relation to cases involving politicians such as this case. Miss Bain's January the 19th memo was sent from her Crown Office Private Secretary to the First Minister's office in his capacity as the leader of the Scottish Government rather than as SNP leader. At 4:06 p.m, an official in the First Minister's office forwarded the email and attached memo to Colin McAllister, the First Minister's political chief of staff and most senior spin doctor. as well as Mr Swinney's Civil Service Principal Private Secretary, John Webster. But at 4:18 p.m. the same day, the Crown Office told the media no further information about the Murrell case would be released beyond the scheduled court date. The Crown Office notice to journalists said the case is scheduled to call for a preliminary hearing at the High Court on the 20th of February 2026. The Prosecution Service has no further information or guidance to provide at this point. Later at 5:28 p.m, the First Minister's office offered sight of the Lord Advocate's memo to others, including Andrew Bruce, the top civil service spin doctor, Julie Grant, another senior civil service spin doctor, and Permanent Secretary to Joe Griffin, the head of the civil service in Scotland. It's not yet clear if they then asked to see the memo. A minute later, Miss Grant then forwarded the email with the offer to Mr McAllister and Ross Ingebrigtsen, another SNP spin doctor, saying adding Colin and Ross for awareness. The revelation comes after the Scottish Sun last week disclosed the full details of the indictment 7 days ahead of the planned appearance by 61-year-old Murrell, where he may have entered a plea of guilty or not guilty. But after a request from his defence team on Friday, the next court date was postponed until the 20th of May, after the May the 7th Holyrood election. Scottish First Minister John Swinney was asked about this last Saturday, the day after the court case had been moved.
This is a live case and I'm not going to make any comment upon it.
Was there anything published yesterday which surprised you in terms of the extent of the charges, the length of time, the amount of money involved?
This is a live case and I'm not going to comment on it.
We also saw yesterday that the case has now been delayed until after the election. The Conservatives are asking questions about why and when this was ordered. Would you want to maybe say anything in terms of the government being separate from the courts and making that decision?
The courts make their own judgments and this is a live legal case and I'm not going to comment on it.
Is it in everyone's case for this to be concluded as fast as possible?
This is a live legal case and it has to take its course and it requires no comment from me.
Meanwhile, Scottish Labour leader Anas Sarwar was asked if donations to his party would be returned and why he thought Peter Murrell's court case had been postponed to later in the year.
On the specific question though, I think it's a bit rich for the SNP to be talking about the finances and the donations of any other political party, to be frank. And when I heard John Swinney talking about dodgy organisations, I thought it was very, very brave territory indeed for him. Let me just first of all say that I am not going to say anything that prejudices any police investigation or any process that's going through the Crown. Are there questions that need to be asked and answered? Yes, but that is for the Crown to answer and for the public to get as much transparency as possible. But I'm not going to get into a deep debate about the rights and wrongs of individual judicial processes or outcomes.
The disclosure of the memo to the First Minister is likely to fuel further debate about the dual role of the politically appointed Lord Advocate. He doubles as the head of Scotland's Prosecution Service and a Cabinet Minister in the Scottish Government. The Crown Office has repeatedly said that Miss Bain or her number 2, Solicitor General Ruth Charteris, also a Scottish Government Minister, have no role in the Murrell case. This is due to concerns about conflict of interest as the case relates to the SNP and Operation Branchform, which saw the arrest of Ms Sturgeon in 2023, although she was ultimately not charged. We revealed on Friday how Murrell is accused of embezzling the cash over a 12.5-year period and using the money to buy items including cars, a motorhome, luxury goods and jewellery. We asked the Crown Office and Scottish Government both to comment.